Well, I feel to share a little bit about acceptance because I myself have taken quite the path in the last few years trying to decipher within my own being what acceptance really is. I guess for many years I was a very controlling person, wanting control over the experience that I was having. And I saw how much pain that was giving me, but I didn't know how else to be in the world. So I couldn't let go. But when I was finally able to open my heart enough and mind enough to see the pain that it was causing, not only myself, but others, I chose to surrender. I wanted to accept myself and others as we were more than anything. So I took this concept of acceptance as more of a passive thing. So although I had so much joy in my life in some areas, when I took this concept of acceptance to heart in terms of my relationships, I started to become more and more and more passive, feeling like what acceptance was asking me was to accept this moment now as it is without actively participating in it, to just experiencing it, being in it, but doing little about it. Anything that I wanted to do about it, to interact with it, or make changes to it, felt like in my mind I was resisting it in some way. So I put myself in all kinds of painful and brutal circumstances, really, that did not feel good at all or extremely uncomfortable. And I felt like because I was uncomfortable, there was something within me that was resisting the situation, that wasn't able to accept it. So I forced myself to stay in these circumstances until I could accept it, trying with all my heart to accept it, down on my hands and knees praying many days to be able to accept it. All the time failing to see that that is not what the invitation was all about anyway. To accept doesn't mean to do nothing, to become passive, to submit yourself to all kinds of very uncomfortable and negative people and places and situations. It's really to be honest with ourselves and our heart. If I'm leaving this, am I leaving because I'm running from something? Is there something in me that is wanting to open up by being here? Or is this just a situation? Allowing ourselves also to see that it could just be the situation is not a healthy environment and to walk away. The more and more we practice getting in tune with our heart, the more we can see when we're running because we're a little bit uncomfortable and when it's truly just not a good fit for us. And we no longer, hopefully, you don't follow this same path that I took, but hopefully you don't submit yourself to very negative people and in uncomfortable environments for long periods of time, trying to change something within yourself, believing that there's some sense of lack within you that's unable to accept things as they are. Because it just may not be true. And we really have to go inside and be honest with ourselves. I remember in Eckhart Tolle sharing, I think it was in A New Earth, about someone ordering a bowl of soup. And there was two ways that you can respond. Well, probably many more, but one way, the egoic way, would be to throw a fit at the waiter for giving you cold soup. How dare you serve me cold soup? Take this back. I want hot soup. And the other way is simply stating a fact. This soup is cold. May you please heat it up and return it to me? I just rediscovered that a few weeks ago and been sitting with it. How it showed me so much about what acceptance really is. That acceptance isn't becoming passive and subjecting yourself to all kinds of things that you don't enjoy, that you would rather have another way. Honestly, that's not what acceptance is about at all. We can still engage with others, ask for what we want, have preferences, express those preferences, but that neediness behind it is gone. That sense of I and specialness, that I am right and I have the answers and you need to treat me this way, that all goes. But we still be honest with and accept our own humanity, that we have preferences as well. We like things a certain way, that we don't want to be treated with harm, aggression. It's perfectly acceptable to not want those things and to want to be treated with respect. To have joy in our lives. Those are natural. And it's acceptance is embracing our own humanity too. Part of it is seeing that, yes, I may have preferences, but my preferences aren't any more important than your preferences or any more right than your preferences. But it doesn't mean that I have to be silent and not express them. For a long time, too, I denied relationships. I denied having possessions, having meaningful work, feeling like that was all a sense of grasping. That was coming from an attachment, from a lack of acceptance of what is. So I was no longer allowing these beautiful parts of being alive to come into my life again. It took me a long time to be able to see what it was, what acceptance really is. And it has nothing to do with denying our humanity. It's embracing our humanity, but seeing that our way of being in the world isn't any more right or better than anyone else's way of being in the world. So when we can give that acceptance to ourselves, accept our own preferences, our own ways of being, our own expression that wants to come forth, when we can truly trust that and allow it to be expressed, accept ourselves as we are, then we can finally extend that authentically to others. Authentically to others. Not just saying that we accept them as they are in a sort of sarcastic way, or when they suddenly do better than us at something, secretly stewing in envy or jealousy, even though we claim to love them and tell them that we want their happiness. Rather, when we totally accept our own way of being, our own expression, our own preferences, We can allow other people to have theirs as well, and they no longer feel like a threat. It's an expression, a dynamic expression where I can express what feels true for me and the other person can express what feels true for them. And there's some greater truth that will come out of it. Something new will come from it. We can both kind of lean in to each other and see what might want to come forth. Then we can accept every circumstance as it is too. Sometimes we may not want to be where we are. Like right now, I would much rather have have some meaningful employment and an income. Yet this is where I am. But it doesn't mean that I have to passively stay stuck here any longer. I can still take action from where I am. Oh, how long it took me to see these lessons. And I hope that in some way they help you in your journey of uncovering what acceptance is in your own life. Because it is really much simpler than I made it out to be anyway. It is not passive in any way. It's active and engaged, but yet open and allowing. Thank you. And if you have any insights on acceptance or your path or journey in uncovering a more accepting way of being, I would love to hear from you, hear your insights on this topic, because it's been a very long journey for myself. Thank you. Namaste.